Hey everyone, Mystic here coming at you with another video. We got a massive reveal yesterday from Path of Exile 2. I am so excited for the future of Path of Exile. It was incredible, honestly, to watch everything that they were saying and seeing all of the things that they were showing. Some of these things we've been asking for so long, some of these changes we've wanted, and they're listening and they're putting them into the game, and I'm so excited. I cannot wait to get into it. And let's go ahead. Let's dive into this review. I am kind of following the path that they did, but be sure to go watch their video. Go check out the patch notes for yourself to get more in-depth details. We're gonna kind of go through it, but we're gonna go through it pretty quickly. The first change that they talked about are the campaign changes. No more cruel difficulty. No more repeating the campaign. I cannot tell you how excited I am for that. I thought that was one of the worst mechanics of the league, was repeating the campaign. It felt terrible. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't like it at all. Every single time I started a new character, it was a major drag to have to go through the campaign multiple times. I'm so glad that it is gone. I'm so glad that we're basically just going through Act 4 and then 3 interludes to get us to the end game. Those interludes include the Curse of Holton, the Stolen Barrier, and Doriana's Contingency. They introduced 35 new areas and 24 new bosses. Now, those interludes won't be staying in the game, but the content will, right? So the areas and the bosses will remain in the game. So it's not like we're just getting all of this stuff as filler until Acts 5 and 6 come out. These are actually staying in the game, which gives us more content, more stuff to do, and keeps us involved in the end game longer, right? So I think it's huge. It's a big boost to the end game. It's a big boost to the playability, but not repeating the campaign is one of the biggest wins of the reveal yesterday, in my opinion. I'm so excited. I'm also excited to see Act 4, right? We finally get a new act. We finally get to see the story progress a little bit. I think after seeing Acts 1 through 3 so many times, we're kind of tired of it. We wanted to see something new. I'm glad we finally got something new. Next up is the sprinting mechanic that they were talking about. Now, I know there's kind of like a hit and miss for some people on this. I personally think sprinting is a huge win. There's nothing worse than having cleared a map and you got to run around to find the next zone, or maybe you missed it and it's at the very bottom of the map and there's no there's no checkpoint nearby. Like they already said, you hit your evade button and you hold it and you move faster than anything in the game essentially. This is going to help us get through the campaign, get through maps much faster. I think this is a big win. A lot of people are talking about how Path of Exile 2 is kind of slow. I think this is going to help that. It'll be interesting to see how it all works out, but I think this is for the better. I personally like it. I will be using it for sure when I'm running through maps and stuff like that. The next thing they talked about, one of the biggest things they talked about, is support gems. There are so many things that went into this discussion when they were talking about it, and so many things were going off in my head. It was incredible. We can now use multiple support gems in a skill. We don't, we can use the same one basically in multiple skills. Support gems now have levels, and we now have lineage supports. The fact that we can use the same support gem multiple times is really excuse me, is really going to bring up the level of the characters. It's going to add to the balance, right? I felt like we were stuck with one skill. Basically, if you had a skill that you wanted to focus on, you had to put all of your good support gems in there, and it really it narrowed down what we could do with the character. Now you could have your other skills kind of doing other things, but it really put a focus on us just focusing on that one skill. Whereas this now allows us to open up that book, right? We can now run a character with 3 or 4 skills that are all viable. This is going to help bring up that balance. It's going to help make more builds and more characters in-game viable. Could you imagine being a witch running chaos, fire, ice, and lightning damage, and they're all viable, like they are all strong, and blending all of that together. Now I know, we can't spec that way into the skill tree all at once, but now it allows us to make these unique builds that when you add all of it together creates this new build that actually works. Whereas before, even if you spec'd into just one of those, it may not be an in-game viable build just because it didn't work, right? Because you needed this support gem on this skill, but you can't do it because you have it over on your main one, right? I think this is going to help with the builds. This is going to help with in-game viability. I think this is going to help balance out characters. I think all around this is huge, right? This is absolutely huge. We are no longer restricted on the build. If from me, what it feels like we now are allowed to like explore it more, right? We can explore these builds more. The support gems have the levels, as I said earlier, now. So you have like 1, 2, and 3. They did say, that they change like 10% cast speed, 15% cast speed, and then the third one could be a boost, or it could be kind of a return to the first level, but you also get an additional buff. Again, this adds some variance to the builds. It allows us to play with them, being like, oh, I don't need a level 3. I feel like it actually kind of hurts the build more than the level 2. So, it allows us to play around with the characters and figure things out. I do like it. It'll be interesting to get into the game and see how that all really works out. The lineage supports. So these are rare in-game supports that add, unique buffs to the character or to our skills. I'm really interested to see it. They went into it, but I think really we're gonna have to see it in game to figure out exactly how they work. And does it break things? Does it make things incredibly strong? Like it is interesting. Again, it adds variance to the builds, and it adds a new layer for us to be able to explore on that build or on that character. I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big fan of all of these changes. Again, we got to get in game to see what happens with it, right? Skill changes. There were a lot of skill changes they went over. They were talking about movement updates, skill reworks, resistances, the ascendancy changes, like giving us certain ascendancy nodes off the bat, helping with like evasion and armor actually being viable, like good damage reducers, or elemental reduction, reduce damage reduction, things like that. So there were a lot of things that they went into. Some of the bigger ones that I noticed were like the movement speed stuff. Again, I think they're trying to make the game smoother. They're trying to make the game faster, and the movement stuff really has me interested because, like, we're not taking as much speed reduction while using a skill. We're not having to slow down while we reload. We're not having to slow down while we swap weapons, or the weapon swap is automatic now. So it's like, I think they're really making this a smoother move, right? So we're not losing all of this speed. It doesn't feel as clunky or as like jerky as it did before. These things are really going to help us speed up, and they're really going to help the smoothness of the gameplay. So I'm a big fan of a lot of these changes. Again, we'll see how they look in the in game, but I think in all, these were really good, especially some of like the damage reductions and the resistances, especially for like evasion. I think those changes are necessary, and they're going to be good for those types of builds. So I think that's a big W for them as well. The passive tree, huge changes here as well. More than 100 new notables in the skill tree, and many more nodes. We'll get to the attribute reduction in just a second, but I want to touch on these two first. The fact that we have more options is better. There's a such thing as too many options, right? If you have too many options, it can be too much. But I think we did need more. The fact that, like, we can now follow a build guide, but be like, you know what? I really want to kind of go this path. Like, it allows us to make the build our own. It allows us to kind of explore, right? It opens up the characters. It opens up the builds, and invites us to explore the skill tree to actually see what we can do, right? If we don't like a certain aspect, now we have more options to choose from, as opposed to being like, well, I guess, we got to kind of go this way because of the way that the skill tree goes and where we need to be. Now it's like, well, you know what? We might be able to put more of our points into actual nodes that work for our build earlier and are better than trying to wrap halfway around the passive tree. One thing I also want to talk about is the attribute requirement reduction was done 25% across the board. This is really what's going to help us explore this skill tree. I know everybody's felt it when you are running through the skill tree and you kind of have to branch off or do these things to get these attribute nodes, right? Strength, intelligence, all of these things, dexterity, whatever it is. And it feels bad. You feel like you're wasting points, and you are wasting points. A 25% reduction is going to allow us to again dive deeper into the skill tree and go for more nodes that are going to do incredible things, whether that's damage or damage reduction or movement speed or just a whole host of things. I think this is a huge advantage for us, and I can't wait to actually get into that passive tree. I mean, when they showed what it was before and what it was after, it was incredible. I can't wait to get in there and finally maneuver around with some of these builds. The new league is the rise of the abyssal. So essentially what's happening is we have these fissures that are going across the land, right? And we kill all these monsters, and all these souls go into this pit, and then out rises this massive monster. Like it looks like so much fun. I mean, there's nothing better, right, than just like slaying mobs, and then these massive monsters come jumping out of the ground, and we got to take them down, right? And of course the loot, you get huge rewards at the end, right? I mean, it's gonna be a ton of fun, and that's just part of it, right? That's just a small portion of the new league. They also introduced ways that rogue exiles and bosses can also go into these fissures, which then release even bigger versions of the exile, or like I think there was like this giant, I can't remember what they called it, like a giant worm that came out when a boss died. It's like those things are so fun and so exciting. I can't wait to finally see it happen in game. They also introduced ancient pieces of bone, which can be used on rare items to add a special modifier. Now in Act 2, you get a new area, which is called the Lightless Passage, is what I saw on the map. Inside is a Well of Souls, where apparently we go blank, where you throw the item in. So basically you use the pieces of bone on the item, you throw it in, and you get 3 options to choose from. And those 3 modifiers can be, items that normally, modifiers that normally come on the item, or they can be incredible new buffs. This is really helping us with the crafting aspect, which we're going to get into crafting in just a little bit. But the fact that we have options now and some of the randomness is being removed, absolutely huge. The fact that they're adding these ancient pieces of bone, which can take a godlike item and make it even better, is just incredible. Like the items that we're gonna get are probably going to end up being insane, and I can't wait to mess around with it and throw things in there. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. The waystones can also be modified with a preserved vertebrae, increasing the modifiers and making it much stronger. This is going into what I was talking about in my previous video this week, or late last week, where we want ways to modify the maps, right? And this is them doing that. So I like seeing that we now have more options with the waystones. Adding these in allows us to do that. And I'm really excited to see what kind of modifiers there are. I know there's some that are league specific, and it like adds these fissures it's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be a ton of fun to get in there and do it. Sometimes those depths will open up, right? And we can jump into those fissures, and we can go in and fight unique enemies and get unique things that are only found there. Like some of these unique bosses are going to have unique drops. They're also going to, some of those lineage supports, I'm sure, will be down in there. So the ancient spires are also something new that they added, where you basically go to these zones and you kill the commander and you destroy their spires. I didn't really catch too much of what that does, but I'm sure there's a mechanic that goes into that. There's 4 unique bosses with each their own special unique item. Like they showed a belt that acts like a helmet or something like that. Like it's, again, adding to this variance, this build uniqueness that we're getting here, and I love it. The more options I can have, the better, right? We don't want too many, but we needed more. We absolutely needed more, and they're giving it to us. The Undead Fanger is a unique item. This allows the character to jump into the Well of Souls. So instead of throwing your item in there, we can use the Undead Fanger and we jump into the Well of Souls. Now, they didn't say anything about what happens. So it's pure speculation on what's going to happen. But it's like, well, what happens if I'm a witch and I jump in there? Do I get 20% increased cast speed? Do I, what do I get? Do I get chaos damage? Do I like? There are so many different ways this could go. So many different ways this could go, and it's gonna be really interesting to see what can happen with your character by jumping into that well of souls. I mean, this league is adding so much content, and I think we were all feeling it with last league, right? There just wasn't enough to do. We had multiple characters that made it to the end game. We were running T4 content, and you were just out of things to do. The new league has so many mechanics, and there's so many new areas, and there's so many new bosses that are coming into the end game. It is going to keep us there. It's going to keep us entertained for much longer, much longer. And for us, that's huge. That's what we want to do. We want to have content to do inside the game, and this is just oozing with in-game content, and I'm so excited for it. So some of the in-game changes that are occurring. So again, 25 new maps to explore. So they didn't really show a whole lot of these, just some little snippets of things here and there. But I mean, hey, more content, right? New maps. Some of the maps we've run so many times, right? We're kind of bored of seeing them. So seeing some new maps is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and hopefully we don't get stuck on everything. Some of the map designs for me personally, like I just get stuck on things. It's kind of frustrating, but I'm excited to see the new maps and see where we're going to be running. The new zones that are not in the map, but in the atlas, right? They basically are like these super maps, and you have to run around. And there's three maps surrounding it that you got to clear, and you got to hit these devices that'll shut it down, and then you go inside. Inside of there are like Citadel type bosses in that map. I think this is really interesting. It gives us more reason to explore the map besides like, citadels and towers and unique maps and all these. Like it adds uniqueness to the Atlas, and it drives us to want to explore out more, right? We want to find these unique bosses. We want to find these areas. Summoning circles. So there's a map where basically, you can call in like 10 bosses, you fight them in a circle. At the end of it, you get a jewel or what is that? Not a jewel, like a rune. You get a very specific rune. Now those summoning circles can be found in random maps. They did look much smaller. They did look much smaller than the one in the previous league. So it'll be interesting to see if there's still like 10 bosses in it or a couple bosses or whatever, but now we can find them in other maps. So the affixes on the maps now make it harder, but they also add previous things that you were searching for on your waystones. So like drop chance, rarity, pack size, etc. So based off that affix, it will add those to the map automatically. It will no longer be like rarity is one of the affixes and we're trying to chase that on our maps. The specific affix will add that to the map automatically. I'm a huge fan of this. Again, talking about my previous video, I wanted ways to make maps just super, super unique and super fun and make them the way that we wanted to make them. And this is them working towards that. I'm excited to see it. It'll be interesting to see which affixes actually affect what, because that's going to affect, what we're looking for in the map. But it is a start to like see them working towards us being able to manipulate maps in a very specific way. Breach, rituals, and pinnacle content. You will now be able to add 2 points automatically to those Atlas skill trees before starting the content. Now you have to defeat like a boss in a map or do something specific for those in-game contents, but you will get 2 of them, right? And now those nodes within the skill tree, because of the splinters that are being put into place, you no longer will see like adds difficulty. The splinters are now used and can be used much earlier. We don't need to collect 300 splinters and then we get an item, right? You can use, I believe when I saw it in the reveal, you could use 50 or 100 or 150, something like that, and basically run lower levels of that. This is huge. This is huge because now we can run these in-game contents faster, and we can also do them at an easier level if we need to, right? If you level up to a T3 and you can't beat a T3M boss, it feels kind of bad to do that. So you can go run a T2 and still do the same thing while getting, gear drops and all of these other things. So I think that's a huge win. Also, I think of like SSF. I currently am running an SSF character, and it's kind of a pain in the in game to have to run so many maps to get 300 splinters to run one breachstone, right? So I think this is an excellent change. It's going to get everybody involved, and it's going to get everybody involved sooner. So I think this is great. They did say the Arbiter now only has 2 phases. You need fragments like normal for the first one, but then the second one requires Calamity. I don't think they went too deep into that, but it'll be interesting to see what Calamity is. What is the difference, right? How do we still get them from the Citadels? Is there a different way that we get them? It'll be interesting to see. Leveling has been smoothed out, thank goodness. It is not going to be the grind that it is when you hit like 88, 89, and then especially once you hit 90. They said they made it much easier to get to the mid 90s. Massive win. It is a slog when you hit 90. 88, 89 is kind of when I started to feel it, but when I hit 90, it felt awful to try to level. So I'm excited that we can finally get kind of to the mid 90s. If after the mid 90s it gets really difficult, that's fine, but at least we can get there a little bit easier. Crafting, huge changes coming to crafting. One of the first things they talked about was essences performing like regals, and they add a specific modifier to get no more randomness. Basically, they are telling you if you add this regal, you are getting this added to your gear. The randomness is gone. Think like nothing feels worse than having a great item, putting something onto it, and it doesn't help it, or you all know what I'm talking about. It feels bad, especially like as an SSF character, and you don't have a ton of currency, or you don't have a lot of crafting, or you don't have a lot of currency, or you don't have very many items. You can't go buy an item, right? So when you go to do these items, like when you go to perform these crafting mechanics on them, and you have a good item and then it does nothing to it, it feels bad. This is helping with that. There are also tiers to essences. There's also tiers to the regals, the transmutation, the exalts, and the chaos orbs. We'll get into those in just a second, but the essences basically are adding more powerful options as you go, right? So the number, the ability, or whatever it's adding is going up in tier, so it is stronger and stronger and stronger. It also allows you to, it kind of like persuades you to use it. Like, hey, we're going forward or going deeper into the end game. Go ahead and use the old essences. You're not losing anything by using them, right? But as I was saying, the regals, the transmutation, the augmentation, exalts, and chaos also get tiers, right? So you're gonna have lesser, greater perfects. The perfects are going to add a specific tier add. Right now, I think it's still random, right? The whatever prefix or suffix it's going to add is going to be random, but it will be at a certain tier. Nothing is worse than when you add an exalt and you get a T6 on an item that has nothing but T1 and T2 rolls, right? So I think this is really going to help. It's going to push us forward into crafting. It's going to be like, okay, I know if I add a perfect exalt, I'm getting a T3 roll on my piece of gear that is going to fit with the piece that it is. I'm not going to get a T7 roll on a T1 and T2 item, right? Feels great. Exceptional items is another thing that they're adding. So basically, these are kind of like great base starters, right? They come with up to 30% quality. They come with 2 sockets. They're really good items to begin crafting on. And I think this is going to push us to want to craft more, which I want to do. Something that I've always talked about is I want to craft more, but it didn't feel good, so I didn't do it. This is really going to push us to craft. The other crazy thing is you can val these things, and you can get 3 sockets on items that you previously couldn't get 3 sockets on. So if you have an item and it has 2 sockets on it and you val it, you could get a 3rd socket on an item that you couldn't get one before. I mean, it's like, again, just opening the door to so many possibilities. There are some new omens they went over. Omen of the Ancients, Omen Sanctification, and Omen of Chaotic Monsters. The Orb of Chance, basically for the Ancients, instead of destroying the item, it'll create it to a unique of the same class. It's kind of interesting. Divine Orbs can Sanctify, which can substantially, or consubstantially, however you want to say that. They can substantially overroll an item. Those could be huge, right? That could be huge. Now be careful because you're sanctifying it, right? So it's basically done at that point. So you could also brick the item. But I mean, hey, it's interesting to see that these options are being added. And then Chaos Orb is for the chaotic monsters on a Waystone. It affects pack size, right? And that could really go into the league play where we're trying to close these fissures and all of these things. Like it could get chaotic. It could get crazy, right? They have added an item called Hinakora's Lock. Is a new currency item that allows you to see the result of the next currency item you use. Incredible, especially like SSF characters. If you're low on currency or whatever it is, if you have one of these, you can throw it on the item, and if it's not going to roll what you want, you don't have to. That's a huge win in the craft. Like it takes us from doing something that we were going to do and being like, oh, hey, I'm not going to get what I want. I'm going to save that currency, right? Especially if we're talking like divines and chaoses and stuff like that. I mean, I think that's a huge win, and it's a really interesting aspect. So I'm really looking forward to using those a lot. Trading. I am so excited about trading. This is one of the things that I have probably touched on the most in my streams and the most that I talk about. I could not stand trading. I could not stand it. It was terrible. It felt bad. We had to go in and out of our game. People didn't respond. People didn't show up. People would change the price on you when you got there. It was bad. And no longer. This is exactly kind of what I was talking about, where we should have had an NPC that basically controlled everything. If you list something, we go into the trade website, you click on it, you're automatically transported to them, and you buy it. You don't have to interact with them. You don't have to do anything. Like you literally are teleported there. You buy it. The currency is saved with Ange, who we find is the NPC in Act 4. But the currency stays with them, and that person can come in and collect their currency whenever they want. No longer can people go on the trade website and list things at a lower value to try to manipulate the markets and stuff like that. It's like if you list something, anybody can buy it. And I am a fan of that. I was tired of people listing things for cheap and then they never respond to you, or they're doing it because they're trying to control markets and things like that. No longer can they do that. This is a massive win. The fact that, they said it's completely asynchronous. I can go on the trade website, click a button, I'm transported there, I buy it, I leave. I can also look at their inventory in case they have anything else. But this is one of the biggest changes of this league. I'm so excited for a lot of different things in this league. I am beyond excited for this. You will have to kind of decide if you want your current stash tabs to go over or whatever. So there's going to be some change there. We'll have to look into that. But I mean, anything that made trading better was a win, and this is it. I'm so excited for this. A couple of missed items, and these will be the last things that we talk about. A couple of the things that they didn't really touch on is the towers in the end game, right? I'm not a fan of them. I feel like you're kind of wasting maps to get to them so you can, make good zones to farm. I don't really like them. I wish there was a way for us to manipulate every single map. Now, however, during the Q&A at the end, they did address this, and they did say they understand that. They don't like it either, and they are going to change it. Now, it's not going to come anytime soon. I believe they said by 0.4 they will have the fix for it, which is huge, and I'm super excited to see that. I wish they would have added it in now, but I get it. There was, they had to develop a new league. There was all of these other big changes that were going on, specifically like with trading. I'm sure that took a very, very long time. We can deal with towers for another league, right? I mean, the fact that they know it's not good, the fact that they know it and they're going to change it is huge. I can't wait to see what they come up with. They did say the towers are going to stay, so maybe the towers will have some sort of specific, effect on the maps within the zone, like increased rarity by 10% or 20%, or increased, drop chances or increased quantities. Like maybe that's what they do with them instead of you having to slam tablets into them. But I am interested to see what's going to be happening with that. But it is a huge W that at least they addressed it. They told us they're working on it and it'll be coming. Perfect. Thank you. No new characters. This is a little upsetting. I wish we'd have gotten at least one new character. It is what it is. I think everybody was kind of expecting there to be a new character, but there just wasn't. So I wish we'd have got one. I do, but at the same time, there's so much to look forward to. I think we can wait for another new character. I mean, maybe we get a new one during the camp or during this league. Who knows? But it was kind of depressing not to see a new character. I'll be honest. But hey, guys, that's pretty much it. That's my thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. Did I miss something? Did I mess something up? What are you looking forward to? What do you wish they would have added that they didn't? I mean, I'm be honest. I think this is incredible. This is incredible. This is Path of Exile and the directors and the game, the game companies listening to us, right? And it feels good when we have these frustrations and things that we want changed and they get addressed, right? And Path of Exile is doing that. Path of Exile is saying, hey, look, people are having these problems. Let's fix them. Let's make the game better, right? The game is getting better. The game is oh man, it's going to be so exciting, this league. Like I can't even describe to you how excited I am to jump into this and finally mess around with all of these new mechanics. I think I'm going to be completely lost in this world. It's so exciting, and I can't wait I can't wait to get in there. I can't wait to see everything that's changed. I can't wait to mess with trading and crafting. Finally, I'm excited for those things. But let me know what you guys think. Be sure to come check me out on stream 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys out there. See ya.